Here we are again for another video on compound units. Starting to get quite challenging now. Let's see how we get on. So we're still on density. Now, how do we find the volume of a given mass when we know the density? So we know the density and we know the mass. We're looking to find the volume. Here's an example. We're told the density is 1.75 grams per cubic centimetre and we're asked to find the volume, which weighs 20 grams. So, as before, write down your formula. Always start with your formula. It provides a sort of map as to how you are going to go about answering the question. So density is mass divided by volume. Right. Substitute into that. Have a look. See what things you know. See what things you need to know. So, density, 1.75. That's okay. Mass is 20. This is the mass here. 20 grams. That must be the mass. And then the volume is the answer to our question, so that's going to stay as V. And we can see now this is more challenging than the last set of questions we had because the number we're looking for, V, is on the bottom of the fraction. It's the denominator of the fraction. That's a bit of a problem for us. We don't like it down there. We prefer it not to be there. So let's make it not be there. It's gone. How did I do that? Well, I remembered that over V, over something means divided by that. So we've got a divided by V on this side of the question. I want to get rid of divided by V, so I multiply by V. If I multiply by V on this side, then I multiply by V on this side. And that gives me 1.75 V. Oh, that's much nicer. The number that I don't know that I'm looking for is multiplied by a number that I do know. I know how to deal with a question like that. I need to get V on its own. How do I get it on its own? Well, I do the opposite of what's happened here. Here, it's multiplied by 1.75, so now I divide by 1.75. And I do the same on both sides. So this side is also divided by 1.75. I'd probably reach for my calculator at this point, but I'm going to write it in as 20 over 1.75. Make sure the examiners know that I know what I'm doing. Type that into my calculator, 20 divided by 1.75, and that comes out at 11.4. That's rounded off. Okay, I've rounded that to 1 decimal place. It seems a reasonable degree of accuracy. I just need to fill in my units here. What are my units? Well, if my volume is measured in grams and my mass is measured in grams and my density is measured in grams per cubic centimetre, my volume must be in the matching units that go with these two. What's missing from here? I've got grams and grams per cubic centimetre. I must need cubic centimetres. All right. One thing I'd like to draw your attention to here is that I had this line once I'd substituted in and I worked my way to this line. Now if we compare these two lines, ignoring the one in between, here I've got 20 over V, here I've got 20 over 1.75, here I've got 1.75 on its own, here I've got V on its own. What has happened is that this has swapped places with this. These two have swapped places. Now if you remember that, you can miss this line out. Go straight to this one. But that's up to you. Right, have a go at your turn. Pause the video and carry on when you're ready. Right, let's have a look at this together then. Of course, one of the advantages of it being on video is that you can pause it and re-watch it as many times as you like until you feel confident that you understand what's going on. First step, always write down the formula so that you know what's going on. D is M over V. Then let's replace letters by numbers. Substitute into that equation. D for density is 1.75. M is mass. It's not identified here, is it? But we do know that mass can be measured in grams. So this is a mass here. Even though it's next to the word volume, it isn't a volume, it's a mass. So make sure that you replace M by 10. And then we're being told to find the volume. That must mean we don't know what the volume is. So V will stay in the equation. Right, now then, we identify that we've got the problem of the thing we want is on the bottom of a fraction. So first step, get it away from there. How do we do that? Well, by knowing that over V means divided by V, and we need to do the opposite of divide by V. We times by V. Whatever we do on one side of the equation, we do the same thing on the other side of the equation. So this gives us 1.75 times by V. Now I've got my mystery number multiplied by another number, so I can easily get that number on its own. How do I do that? Well, by doing the opposite of what's here. This is times by 1.75. So we divide by 1.75 and we do it on both sides of the equation. So our volume is 10 divided by 1.75, whatever that is. And we'd reach for a calculator at that point, work it out, and it comes out at 5.7 to one decimal place. 5.7 what? Well, if we're using grams and grams per cubic centimetre, then we must also be using cubic centimetres. Okay, make the units match. If the units don't match in the question, then part of your job will be to make them match. All right. Bit of a summary. I've written it out because it's fairly lengthy. I've done this for when I know density and mass in order to find the volume, the denominator in the equation. But it works just as well when I know speed and distance and I want to know the time. And it also works when I know pressure and force and I want to know the area. Right, have a go at the questions. If you get stuck anywhere at all, send me an email, let me know, and I'll help you sort it out. Bye for now.